Hi, good afternoon, our followers, and we are today connecting with you. Thank you so much for following our webinars. For those who were aware that I would be in Zambia, I returned at the airport because of COVID protocols, but I will be flying out later today, so I won't be with you for the part of the webinar, but I will be listening whilst I'm driving. In Zambia, we are having our a follow-up of a leadership training for women in sport with the Olympic Committee of Zambia and NASPA. NASPA is almost a structure like SAWAPS in South Africa. So that will be quite engaging and interesting. And very soon we will be having our own leadership training in South Africa, I think early next year. And we are looking forward towards that. Today our topic is about netball. And it's the first time that SAWAPS gives a national federation a full session. And you would know why we are doing that. Firstly, netball is the #1 sport in South Africa for women. And actually, I think they deserve that. But second to that, I think it's well known that I'm passionate about netball. So netball is my also #1 sport. The third thing is about the issue that they are going to host the World Cup of Netball, the first in Africa, the World Championships, and we will be also addressing that. So this forum today is a big forum for us, and it's quite an interesting one. But also the interesting thing is the fact that our moderator today is Hloni Mutunkulu, who is not new in sports. And also we know that she is a lady in the media. She's from ENCA. So Hloni will be leading us. And Tony will be introducing all our speakers today. Unfortunately, few of them are not few actually, one or two are struggling to connect, but there's someone who's ready to take to take it up until the other two are connected. But all in all, thank you so much, Tony, for your time, and hope you enjoy it. And I know that this panel is in safe hands, in your hands. And thank you so much. I will be listening whilst I'm driving. Thank you. Over to you, Tony.
Thanks, Mam Tambi, for that introduction. And welcome everyone to the monthly SA Women in Sport Foundation webinar. So as Mam Tambi said, this month we are talking everything netball and of course the big events, the 2023 Netball World Cup, which is coming up in less than 2 years now, right? So there's quite a lot of talking to do about that. But it's not just the Netball World Cup. There's a lot of netball happening at the moment. We've got the Africa Cup happening now, and we've just had the Telkom Netball League happening as well. And of course, we've had the elections. So there's a lot to talk about netball at the moment. And joining me on the panel, on this webinar today, will be the very successful, and we'll be hearing all about that success, Jenny van Dijk, the coach of the Gauteng Jaguars, who won this year's edition of the Telkom Netball League. Of course, it's not her first time winning, but she will tell us all about that. So welcome to Jenny. We will also hear from the coach of the Eastern Cape Aloes, Samisha Isa, who they won at Division 1, and we'll be hearing all about that as well. We also have later on Cecilia Mulukwane, who is the president, of course, the re-elected president of Netball South Africa. So for now, we will get things going with Jenny. I think we probably have some time to get going with all your accolades, right? Because you personally and as a team, you've done quite a lot in terms of the netball scene in the country. I think my first question should be, does that success surprise you? The way you've just managed to be so successful over a number of years?
Yes and no, I think. Or to all the listeners, it's such a great honor to be a part of this show today, and really looking forward to answering a few tough questions. And the first one is definitely yes and no. I think, we've got such a good culture of working so hard. The work rate is just way up there. And when you work hard enough for long enough, success will follow you wherever you go. So that's definitely not a surprise, but also, it still stays a surprise, and it still stays such a fantastic feeling when you do get that win, because all that hard work pays off, and it's just a medal and it's just a trophy. But it's what the meaning is behind all of that that's so important, all the hard work and all they have to put up with me all of the time. And I think most of the honor here should go to the people that has to work with me. I'm not always a walk in the park. I think I've become better over the years, but a bunch of phenomenal players and great Gauteng netball support staff, and obviously my management team that works with me.
Okay, nice. So just before we continue with that chat, I do want to bring in our hashtags. They are rolling down on the ticker, the crawler. So you have hashtag SAWASF Sawasfu. That is the SA Women in Sport Foundation. You also have hashtag No to GBV. We know how important that is in South Africa. Hashtag women leaders, because aren't we all women leaders? Hashtag women in sport. And of course, you have the 2023 Netball World Cup as well. So get engaged with us, chat with us on social media. You can join us, of course. You are joining us on Facebook or on our YouTube page. Get the conversation going just around that. Jenny, just to continue with that sort of success that you've had, and you mentioned it in that answer. How do you keep your players motivated when you're winning so much all the time, basically?
Well, I think to us it's always been about more than just the win. Winning is important to us, but it's not the way we've ever measured our success. It's about the standard we put out there, and about the standard we force ourselves and the teams around us to play. We set those goals quite high, and we know that at the end of the day, that's where we want to get. We want to make sure that we actually competing against ourselves most of the time, all of the time actually, and with a lot of respect towards our opponents, obviously at the end of the day, because they also do the same thing, and they also work quite hard. But that connection between the players is such an important aspect when you really want the performances to follow, and that's something that they really seem to understand well.
Okay, cool. And talking about your players, you have produced 8 Spar Proteas, right? In all this time, and your winning percentage is an amazing 85%. You have 74 wins out of 87 matches. If I was at school and I had to take a test and I got 85% for an exam, for a test, I'd be beside myself to be at that point. And you've been so consistent with it. Was that something that you kind of prepared for, as we do when we prepare for exams, or did it just kind of happen along the way and you kind of saw it starting to happen?
Yes, you know what, for us, and when we started the Jaguars franchise back in the day, we sat down as a team and we said, let's have a pledge, let's have a dream, let's have a goal, let's have a clear vision. And one of those visions was to actually be able to win and to complete to win and to what's the word? To continue every year, and to do that every year forever. We don't just want to be a team that wins once or 2 times. We want to set the standard. So at the end of the day, it's about really getting out there and having the right the attitude of, what, we always push. We always want to do better. It's never good enough. Good is never good enough. There's another level we can crawl to. Sometimes we run to it. Sometimes we leap into it. Other times we really kind of take 4 steps back before we get 2 steps forward. But it needs needs to be about consistency through every tournament, through every year, but through every match and through every quarter and through every minute in that quarter, and then every other ball that you pass, and then just ball for ball for ball, the consistency. And it builds up into a good and a successful strategy at the end of the day. But yes, behind the scenes, I must tell you, it's a bunch of such dedicated young players and a few older ones. And they put up, like I said, they put up with me and with my demands and my expectations, but they also have such high expectations for themselves at the end of the day. And that's a relief, because if you work with the players that really wants to improve and that really wants to set the standard, you meet each other halfway, and then you can just perform and up the standard from there.
And that performing includes 5 consecutive titles, right, in the Telkom Netball League. And you've been in 8 finals as well. You played the Southern Stings in that final. You had lost to them earlier on, and then you had won as well. When you approach matches against the Southern Stings, I know you do have a better win ratio against them, but how do you approach those matches? And when you play them in a final, is there a difference between the group stages and when you're playing them in a decider?
Yes, we tend to really take our time and get as much as possible information about the teams we're playing against during the tournament that we play against all of them. So it's a priority for us to watch all the matches, not just 1 or 2, and to watch those matches over and over again, to break down that matches, to break down the breakdowns of the matches, and to find what we need in order to set up a good plan against them. And I mean, just like we show them a lot of what we do on court, they also show us a lot. And when we the day before we lost that match against the Stings, we had an unfortunate injury, and we made a decision right there and then. That cannot be an excuse for us not to be able to perform. In fact, we then decided we wanted to win so much more for Danny that the next morning went in for operation already. So the focus became different, that we really wanted. She had such a good tournament. She was such a good player. It's tough when you lose such a strong player, because for that moment you think, what if it was me? And you feel sad for that player, because it's a full season and that player will miss now. But we gave ourselves opportunity to first rest our bodies, and then we decided, let's approach that game, the first game, the pool match, the last pool match we played against them. Let's approach it and let's just feel it on court. Let's make sure that we gather as much as possible information. We go for the win. We always go for the win. It's never about, we'll never throw a match. That's just not the way we will do it. But we know what we're up against. It's a strong team. So, and let's figure out what does not go well when we're under pressure. So throughout that tournament, we've never been under that much pressure. We've always broken away from the teams, and we couldn't really test ourselves. And that was the opportunity. And I remember halfway through the match, I said to them, okay, girls, this is the situation now. Now let's see what we can do with this situation. Let's see how we can fix it. Let's see in this match still what changes we can make, what works, what doesn't work, and let's take the right things forward into that semis and finals. Because this is obviously, by then we knew this would be a team we'd get in the finals and not in the semi-finals. So we knew we had time on our side to perfect and to fix our biggest concerns and issues and the mistakes that we were making under pressure, and before we played them again.
And yeah, what does it mean for you to see your players kind of be able to process that and shift gears and be able to be put under pressure and overcome, especially as you say that you possibly weren't under pressure before, but when you are under pressure, you're able to deliver?
We've got such a good support structure, and especially behind the scenes, people don't always understand what your Gauteng Netball president is doing for you to make it easier for you to be able to perform in those moments, what your general manager is doing. I mean, even with Danielle getting injured, it was milliseconds, and we already had a spot booked for her for operation for the next day, because we know the longer you wait with a top player like that, the longer the recovery and the rehab will be. So behind the scenes, we've got such a strong support structure, and we've got management and managers that's been working with us for quite a while. And I think at the end of the day, that carries the team through and gives us a good base to work from. And then, I mean, you look at my players, yes, we've delivered quite a few Proteas. And back in the day when a lot of them were playing for the first time as first years, nobody even knew their names. They came in on that Jaguars. Izette was there, Shadeen was there, a bunch of them were there, and Lenice was there, and nobody even knew who they were. And they were playing against the big names that were the national players back then. And now they are in those positions. And this morning I sit and I watch Izette and Jamie play against Malawi, and I'm so proud of them. And I think, you know what, the coaches are doing such a good job. Not just me as Jaguars coach, but Shamisha with her girls, and you know, the Stings coaches, all the different coaches for all the different teams. They really put in quite a lot, considering the fact that we're not a professional sport. And that's something I really want to fight for this. You know, I just feel we've got this dream, we've got this World Cup dream, but we need to be realistic. We need to give our players the opportunity to make it a true dream and something we can chase, because you know, we can make it happen because we have time to train. We're getting paid to go to those training sessions. We're getting the best coaching possible and the best opportunities to compete. So yes, a lot in that answer, but definitely a lot of passion in my heart for this sport, you know.
Right, here we go. I'm back. So yeah, to all those who have just joined us, this is of course the monthly South African Women in Sport Foundation webinar series. It's a monthly thing that happens. And this month, today, we're speaking netball, everything netball, and of course the Netball World Cup 2023, which is of course less than 2 years away. Now, I am with Jenny van Dijk, who is the coach of the Gauteng Jaguars. We have been talking about the Telkom Netball League, and of course they did win recently. So Jenny, just taking it back a bit, you've mentioned now the professionalism and having a professional league, and of course that is a conversation that we keep having, right? About when will this happen? And as you say, there's the World Cup coming up. But realistically, you would also ideally want a professional league to go with it. How much of a difference would that make to you, for your players, and to you specifically when that does happen, should that happen?
Well, first of all, I would like to say, thanks to Telkom, we're already in a position where it is 8 times, 12 times, 200 times better than what we have had in the past. So we are already very thankful. But you know us, we are women. We always push for a little bit more. I know Telkom also understands that. It's nothing new. If you look at our president of Netball South Africa, she's constantly pressuring everybody. We need a netball channel on TV. We need all of that. So yes, we can become quite demanding. But I must say, it's been such a fantastic league. And I've spoken to John from Telkom multiple times. And, you know, he's just also such a passionate person. He loves the netball and he loves to see all the new talent. And even this year, I said to him, how do you feel about the fact that we can't have all our top 60 national players in the competition? And he said to me, I'm excited about it. I can't wait to see what other talent there is. This is exactly what we need. We need more players to get that opportunity. There's players that sit in positions for years and they deserve those positions. But then all of a sudden you get somebody like Jamie van Dijk. I mean, she played in the finals for the Jaguars, and the next moment she got that call up, and today she played against Malawi for the Proteas. So at the end of the day, you know, all of us, we work quite hard. And for me, I work for the University of Pretoria first and foremost, and I'm the head of the program there. And so I get to do netball every day, the whole day. But others don't necessarily. And so when I coach the Jaguars and when I spend time with them, I'm already busy with netball. While other coaches, they are lecturers, they have different professions and they work for themselves. So they don't always have that much time to put into netball. And I think that's one of the great advantages I see with my teams as well. And I would want that for all the coaches, and not just the coaches, for all the players as well, where you can say, you know what, I can also do what I love, do my passion, and do what I'm talented with, and earn a salary a full year and make my country proud. I think we have the ability to win a World Cup. I think we've got enough talent in this country to win a World Cup. But I also know that we should at least give them a fair chance to chase that dream at the end of the day. And yes, we're going a long way. We are competitive. This year, unfortunately, for the Protea coach, it didn't really work out that well for her to get the quality matches she needed to prepare her team. But the time's not over yet. I know there's a quad series coming up next year somewhere. And I mean, it's still Commonwealth even before it's World Cup. But I would like to see by the time we move to 2023, at least the prospect of a real stable and professional league. That's my dream. That's what I just feel the players deserve it, you know. Yeah.
What kind of conversations are players having about that?
Yes, I think, you know, a lot of the times we're busy finalizing our teams for the national champs. And, you know, the conversation is, I hardly have any leave left after all the bubbles I had to go into. I really need to play this national champs because I need the match time. It's costing me money to get there. Again, I think SPAR has been amazing. They have really looked after us well, and they've really covered the majority of the cost for most of us. And they're also King Jaguar supporters. They just love us and they spoil us. Every year we win, they spoil us. We've got a big party coming up next week, and we know we're going to get spoiled again. And they've been great there, and they've really advanced us so much in the past few years, and we're just so grateful for people like that and for sponsors like that on board. But we can't just survive on sponsorships. We need to make sure that, and that's the conversations. They would love the opportunity to do this full time. They, you know, you always have to make that choice. Do I study a little bit harder, or do I do this analysis session? You always have to make a decision. And, you know, I look at the Suncorp League. Those ladies, I mean, they get, just because they become a mother doesn't mean they don't get to play netball. They get their nannies, they travel with, they play. You get players after a few weeks after labor, they join the team again, you know. So I think that also shows you that we can do difficult things as women. We do it every day, but we need those choices, and we need that support.
I trust Cecilia's making notes on this and what other professional leagues are able to do, because that's incredible to have a mom, first of all, have the freedom to have a baby and then to come back as well and to continue. You know, I think in sports in general, that's always a contentious thing for women to be able to live out their best lives, whether as a professional or, of course, as a mother. So the fact that they can do both is really incredible. And Jenny, when you look back from, say, 15 years ago, you know, when you were playing and where things are now, how much, and I know there isn't a professional league yet, but in terms of the progress, the advancement, how far have things come?
Well, look, first I would like to say that if the president was here at the moment, she would say that there's quite a lot of things in the pipeline already. That I know, and I know they're really working towards that. So that's what's really making me proud at the moment, is really pushing for this. And but yes, I look back when I used to play. I started my career. I'm University of Pretoria student. I used to play for Tikkies, then I managed the team, then I coached, and I mean, so it's a full circle for me. I used to play for the SA Under-21 team back in the day. I made it to the national squad, but I never played for the Proteas. And back then, I remember we had 2 big tournaments to really look forward to. We had a little bit of a national league happening, but for the majority of the girls, it would be the University Netball Championships and the National Championships, and it would be 2 weeks of the year, and that's what you'd get. So you would be training the entire year to play those 2 tournaments, and then eventually they started with that National Netball League on and off, and it became a little bit more. And then by, I think, 2013, 2012, varsity netball, varsity sports started bringing out a little bit more. And then the Brittle Fruit Netball Premier League, which is obviously now the Telkom Netball League, that happened. And it's just so much netball. And then it's the Twizzler and it's all the other. And what I love is so many different levels you see opportunities opening up. And I think more clubs. We need more clubs. We need more coaches to do. We just need to step up in a big way to get the best players to continue playing netball at this stage.
Okay, cool. Let's talk about COVID. You're playing a tournament. You've played 2 tournaments under COVID, right? 2 Telkom Netball Leagues under COVID. How, first of all, just when March 2020 happened, and you still had your netball season coming up, what was that like for you and the team?
It was difficult, I must say. We had a squad back then, and we knew that we had to start with the TNL. I think that year it was supposed to start in May, end of April, May. And that was such an important phase for us to move into that final preparation phase, and then everything just took a back seat. We were very quick. I think that was one of the biggest leaps we took to actually get a little bit of away from the other teams in COVID, because we were very quick to respond. We went online very quickly. We cleared out rooms and we did netball sessions, because a lot of the girls were living in the air. They didn't have anything around them, and those at home, you couldn't even get out of your house. They had grass, they had one wall. So we said, you can't train on grass, get everything out of your room. Use that floor. We're going to work on that floor. And I mean, they would literally take everything away and work on the floor there and work against the wall. And I think that was the biggest family approach I've ever seen, because mom was throwing the ball and little sister was defending. And it was we just kept them going all of the time. And we also introduced a lot of other skills. So we actually taught them how to juggle. And that's one of the such important skill, not just for netball, but for brain development. And it was something, and just the mere fact that we could teach them to juggle so quickly. And eventually now all of them are juggling with big netball balls, where they started with small little balls, only 2 balls, and just seeing how quickly you can learn a skill and perfect a skill, and how quickly that skill settles in and becomes a habit. It was also a good learning school for all of us to say, what other skills can we do better and can we perfect? So yes, it was quite challenging, I must say, but we had a good spirit, and we also reached out to the public quite a lot, and we had a few competitions with the public, who can do more push-ups than bubbles, and who can plank longer than Mara. And so we kept it interesting. At the end of the day, it wasn't. It was fun, but it was quite a serious situation. In that first wave, it didn't really hit us as netball community that hard. The second wave, our family and friends really started falling ill. So yes, it was quite draining. And I think the uncertainty about everything is obviously, and that fatigues you. At the end of the day, you get that mental fatigue that's quite challenging. But then eventually we could start training, and I remember when Madam President said, yes, we can get back onto court, but only the top teams. We had 2 courts, 4 players, 1 in each corner of each court, and they were training, and I was standing in the middle, and I was shouting, and I remember I thought, I'm not going to have a voice left. So my voice always sounds like this, but it went worse. So I said, now it's going to be a problem. And they were training in 4 different spots, and then we'd sanitize everything, the next 4 would come in. Sanitize everything, the next 4 would come. We'd spend the entire day on court to get them back. And we had to actually start with changing the surface again and getting them not to injure before we even start with netball-specific skills, because they were doing things on different types of surfaces. But it was so much fun, and I think, I just at a stage I just said, I put up the music and I said to them, now we're going to enjoy this. It is what it is, but we need to enjoy the fact that we get to train netball and nobody else gets to do that. But what we also realized back then, is that for that specific season, we're quite strict with structure, with our approach, with our game plan. And what we realized there was, because we couldn't connect the way we used to, it was more about connection than game plan. So we changed our plan and we said, let's leave the game plan. Everything we do do it so that you can connect with the players, so that the connection is so strong. It might not look pretty all of the time when we play, but while we're busy with that tournament, we'll build more structure into our approach. And by the time we reach that playoffs, we'll be structured but very well connected. And that really worked well for us back then because we didn't have time.
I just want to follow up on that around the connection, but I must say, hi Fahida, we see you. We have a comment from Fahida Crouch who says netball in this country is really growing and it's honestly great. The work that teams put in is brilliant. Congrats, Jenny van Dijk, on a great spell at the TNL. The downfall, because sometimes there is one, is that it isn't pro. And I think that's one of the questions I always pose. How and what can we do to take it to that level? So you see that this having netball as a professional sport in this country is something in people's hearts, I think, and something that really is kind of a conversation that keeps being had, right? Because we realize and we see what netball can do and has done, but the potential also is great. And I think having the 2023 Netball World Cup also just kind of brings the focus even closer, right, on that. So hopefully that conversation can keep happening. Thank you very much, Fahida, for that comment. Remember, you can comment here. If you have anything to say to us, you don't have to use the hashtags, but you can. But do comment if you need to, if you want to bring up something, if you have a question as well to ask Jenny while she is here. Cecilia Mulukwane, the president of Netball South Africa, will be joining us, as well as Shamisha Esau, the coach of the Eastern Cape Aloes. Now, Jenny, you talked about connection, right? And something that a lot of sports teams said about COVID and how things were done and how they had to get used to this new normal and doing things differently, especially when we were in the harder parts of lockdown, was around the connection. I just want to ask, was it a just on the field connection, or how did this adjustment affect personal relations between the team? Did that kind of bring players together, or was there some sort of dynamic that kind of changed in that way that you all had to do things differently?
It was quite challenging, and I must say everything immediately went online, and immediately all our meetings became an online meeting, and we needed to make sure that everybody had data that needed data. Now I think after the first wave of COVID, the whole country has got some sort of a data package for this thing. Will always be so I think our whole mentality changed, and you know what, even in the moments where we didn't have to use so much technology, we'd still use technology. Even, you know, sometimes we would have quick meetings in our own rooms online, you know, where we never used to do that. So it also saved us a lot of time in our planning and preparation. But yes, a lot of the connection on, you know, we had to make sure that we have Zumba and Zamba classes, and everybody was joining in, and we were laughing at each other and doing Pilates together, and everybody's little faces was there, and the dog runs through, and the little sis comes and gives a hug, and it was just such fun times for us as well, even though we took it very seriously and we didn't take COVID lightly. We connected at a very different level, and then we actually also, I think they needed a break from me as well. I can become quite a lot. Now go hard, no more. Why are you laughing? Stop laughing, you know. So at the end of the day, I think they were just like, thank goodness, can we just have a break from this woman, because she will really force us to do whatever just to get us to work hard. So yes, but I must also say, just to come back to the professional league, you know, what I've realized is, and also with a few conversations, even with some of our sponsors, is the one thing we can't afford is to not pull it off the right way from the start. Because the thing is, that's why it's taking time, I think, you know, because you can't just have a little phony little league and no substance. So you can't just say, listen, yeah, everybody leave your jobs, let's go, this is your new job, and then later there's no more funds, and it's like, okay.
Now what?
Would really make it difficult. So I think, you know, you need that substance, and I think everybody's working quite hard towards it, but it's really not an easy thing to do. If you think how long things like rugby, football, cricket has been professional,
right?
You know, it's not something that happens overnight at all.
Right.
But we need it.
Yeah. Hi, Percy. We see you there. Do you feel a sort of envy when you look at cricket, rugby, football, and how they have professional leagues and how this is their life, a professional envy, I guess, that they are at this point, and you're still kind of getting there, and how much of a difference it would make for you guys if you were in that position as well.
Envy, yes, I think we are envious. Obviously, we know we want. The other day we were training, we were walking down to the courts, and one of the professional teams were training at the same grounds as us, and just walking past their cars was quite interesting, and I thought to myself, yes, well, obviously we want to get there. We understand where everybody's coming from, and as women in South Africa, I think we're really standing up and showing that we are. I mean, how many teams has shown that they can win a national league 5 times in a row, and that's something spectacular for a bunch of women to do at the end of the day, So it shows that we've got strong leadership qualities and that we can be taken serious. But the thing that I like is, and I'm an optimist, I always like to see the glass not half full, but half full, not half empty, Yeah. So to me, at least we get to be the generation that made it happen. So that's why I'm pushing for it so hard, because we can be the ones that made it happen. Back in the day, that a few years from now, they say, no, back in the day, these are the people that gave us this is professional league. And I want to be a part of that legacy. And I want to work towards that. And that's why I will always promote it. And I think the players deserve it. They're such a bunch of phenomenal young ladies.
Yeah. Percy is back and he says, absolutely envious. Women's sports, specifically netball, deserves the recognition and investment, right? So I guess recognition from media, from the public, and investment from sponsors, of course. So hopefully that will keep happening, and we will make all the right noises that will get that recognition, that will get that investment going, so that there is something for, as you say, future generations to have. And you can say and look back and say you were part of this pioneering moment, which is unfolding as we speak. I want to go back to the COVID, because our conversation kind of went a little bit that way. How different was this year compared to last year? I guess there were lessons learned from last year, and things seem a little bit easier for federations to kind of unpack their plans for the year. How easier was this year's TNL compared to last year?
Much easier. I must say that at the end of the day, last year we formed quite a bunch of habits we were forced to form, and we just carried over and we continued with those habits. Even though at stages we didn't have to, we made the decision that we were going to continue with that. We made sure we kept our balls clean, we were sanitizing everything, we made sure that we kept our distance. And yes, everybody says, but we're on court, we play against each other. What does it matter? What does the rest matter? You know what? It matters, because the more time you spend close contact, the higher the chance of you falling ill. So it makes a difference. Yes, you can still fall ill while you're busy playing netball, touching that ball. I think a lot of the players realize, like, that ball is actually, everybody touches that ball and touches something else as well, So they were just like, keep that ball clean at all times. So the ball has never been that clean. So I love that. But at the end of the day, we are highly adaptable. And, people that can adapt to change are the ones that will make it up. And we made a choice last year already. We said we will not blame COVID for not being able to perform. We will use this and we will grow through it, and we will use this to build resilience. Because at the end of the day, everything is changing. It's ever changing. And the better and the quicker you are to adapt to those changes, the better for you. And this year it was a breeze. I must say, we made, small things like not pairing your 2 goal shooters together in a room. So let's say you've got 2 goal shooters in their room together. Now both of them fall ill. We don't have a goal shooter. Think about that. Pairing the right players together so that if something should happen, you can still put 7 on the court. Type of effect. Small things that we've changed from last year, lessons that we've learned, and also the way we train, the way we actually decided, we actually bought a whole little mini gym so that when the waves kick in, And we are still about the gym. We don't have to go into a gym where a lot of other people are, so that we can train outdoors, still do our conditioning work, but don't not have all the people around us in order to keep us safe. So that's small things like that. So the longer you were healthy, and some of our players did fall ill. A lot of players actually did fall ill eventually, but also, helping them to recover and then using the sessions you do get the best you possibly can, really getting a lot out of that. Building a good strategy and understanding each other and just getting the players to take more responsibility of their own performance. And I think that's something, we tend to want to spoon feed everybody. Spoon feed all our players. This is how you do it. Do this, don't do this. A lot of how I coach is also about, what do you think? What do you think will work? I have 2 or 3 answers, but you are the one on court. What do you think? So when we analyze or get ready for matches, they watch the match. They go into the units, they make notes, and then we discuss, and then we pull out even more information. Then we build a game plan. Then we go to the court and we really work on that game plan. We incorporate it into what we do, and then we focus on ourselves again. So it's never just focus on the other team. So there's been so many things that we've changed and adapted to, and I think the one thing that I really like is the fact that the girls have really come to the party, and they just said, what, as long as we can play netball, let's get this done. Let's do this. But I'm proud of how resilient and how quick they were to adapt to the changes. It didn't take their heads; they still kept eye on the prize at the end.
Sure, nice. Jenny, how many COVID tests have you done?
Hello?
Oh, I'm saying, how many COVID tests have you done?
Definitely more than 60 since last year. Yes,
Sure.
Some multiple times, and sometimes just because we had 1 or 2 scares, and then we would send the girls, and when they come back, they would retest. Before we go into camp, we test. When we arrive at camp, we test. When we go out of camp, so yes, I think they've been taking a piece of my brains with them. I might not be that smart anymore after all those COVID tests.
Right. And what has been difficult about netball in COVID times?
You know what? Just being able to give somebody a hug. The girls, they really love each other. When they meet each other on court, they give each other a hug and they high five and they make jokes. And I remember I had to put the chairs 2 meters away from each other so that when they arrive, they can go and sit on their chairs, because they just like to bundle. Just like sometimes on court, I know coaches understand this, they like to bundle all of them in the same little space. Now they love to do that as well. So I think that physical, just being able to really give each other a high five, and they kind of grew out of it. And telling them the whole time, you can't give high fives now, it's just not safe. That was difficult. But I also think the second thing that was quite difficult is, we were lucky that none of our players really died or fell really ill. Some of them were ill, but then you hear of a player that somebody in the family passed away or is in hospital, or there was so many people that was still very ill, and that's still fighting every day, still today, and then you kind of feel, okay, well, here am I'm all concerned about throwing a ball through a hoop, and other people are fighting for their lives. But in the same sense, I think sport gives hope, and sports help to prepare you for life, and it's important because people love to see people battle it out on court. Yeah. So it was important to lift the spirit, and that was also one of the things I think it was so good for us to have that TNL, that people can sit and watch and say, what, this is normal. They're playing netball against each other. They don't have masks on while they're playing, and that was quite important. I think everybody appreciated the fact that was something a little bit more normal, and that there was hope for them that one day they will play netball again,
Cool. Cool, lovely. So, to those who have just joined us, of course, you are at the South African Women in Sport Foundation monthly webinar. We are talking everything netball and the Netball 2023 World Cup that is coming up in 2023 in less than 2 years' time, I keep saying. And we are speaking also about the Telkom Netball League and speaking to the very successful, we should give her a drum roll, Jenny van Dijk, who is the coach of the reigning champions, the 5-time defending champions now, the Gauteng Jaguars. Jenny, let's talk about the World Cup, the 2023 Netball World Cup. Where were you when that announcement was made? I know the announcement was made in Cape Town, and Cecilia was there, and the sports minister, the former sports minister, was there, and there was a lot of celebration there. Where were you, and what was that moment like when you realized that this is actually happening?
I was at the University of Pretoria, busy coaching netball, I think somewhere around there. And I remember it was it was almost disbelief. It's like, oh, all those brilliant players are coming to South Africa. And I mean, we have in the past few years, they've travelled and played with us quite a few times during the Quad Series and all of that. But having all of them here and just being able to say as South Africa, we can pull this off. I mean, let's be honest, if our Springboks can win the World Cup, why can't we? And why can't we host? You know, we can host big events and I know we can pull this one off. Yes, it's not always an easy task. And yes, we all need to really perform well. But it was such an exciting moment. And I remember I went as a spectator to the previous World Cup. And I remember our president with a nice little outfit walking up and receiving, they handed over. I can't remember what it was that they handed over there. Yeah. But I was a little dot there at the top, and nobody could see me.
But you were there. You were there.
22,961, I was sitting there. And I saw her accepted, and it was such a symbolic moment of, you know what, wow, okay, we are getting there. Something is happening there. So, yes, it's been such a huge moment for us, and I'm excited about it. But we shouldn't forget that there's still a Commonwealth next year. And, you know, we first need to get through that before we even get to our World Cup.
How well do you expect the team to do? And I'm putting you on the spot. Maybe I should ask, what would need to happen for and I think Cecilia has been very frank kind of about what the expectations are and podiums and that sort of thing. But how well do you expect the team to do? And what would need to happen to fall into place between now and then?
I think our goal should always be to win a World Cup. And I think it's not something that's impossible. But you also need to be realistic and say, you know what, we've made it to position 4. To be realistic means we need to step up into position 3. If we can get into that finals, that would be fantastic, because it's not just about getting into a finals. It's about playing a finals well and winning a finals. As Jaguars, we went and we played in the finals for 3 years in a row, and we lost that first 3 years. You need to know how to play a final. So it's not just about, yes, let's win. But yes, that should be the ultimate goal. And at the end of the day, then we start building it into the process. So yes, if we can get to that semi-final spot again, that would be fantastic. And then let's make sure that if we then don't win that semi-finals and go into the finals, which would be first prize for us, but that when we play for that 3rd and 4th position, we get that 3rd position. If we win and we go to that semi-finals or finals, that we use that opportunity the best we can. I think it's something that we definitely can do. And you know what? We should have hope. There's no reason why we can say, no, it won't be possible. The Springboks has showed that to us multiple times. So at the end of the day, if a bunch of men can do it, surely we can as well, don't you think?
Yay. Just what kind of legacy does the 2023 Netball World Cup leave for netball in South Africa, and I suppose even on the continent?
Yes, I think it's the first time a major event like this is in South Africa, in Africa for that matter. And you look at the African Cup and how far we've come. You still want to see a lot of improvement, and you still want to see them step up even more. As Africa, we do so well at the World Cup. Between Malawi, Uganda, and South Africa, we're right up there. And it's our time to have it here. But at the end of the day, we also need to understand that you need the right opportunities, you need the right plan. And I know that obviously everybody's pushing hard, and a lot of opportunities has gone lost because of COVID and because of the fact that we couldn't get to specific areas. We had that Jamaican tour that couldn't play out at the end of the day. So that all of those small little things play a role at the end of the day. And, I think we've got great talent in South Africa, but talent is not enough. And I think we should have the dream, and we should really want to be the world champs and play in that finals. But just saying it is not enough. We should really be working overtime to get that done. And I know, they are really trying everything they can in their means to make that happen. There should be a massive step up from everybody, and excitement, and also, respect for the sport. And you know what? It's not just about female netball. It's about netball. That's male netball as well. They've played international series. We should be playing against the male teams so much more. And they should be on standard so that we have to play against them to better ourselves. So it's not just female. It's the males as well. We need them to improve ourselves as well.
Cool. We've just had Percy's question around the Proteas and the Sport Proteas, as well as preparation for the Commonwealth Games. He asks, taking COVID into consideration, do you think that the Proteas have prepared enough?
I don't think you ever get to a point where you say, we are now enough prepared for anything. You always feel that there's something you can do more. I think obviously they know that hopefully when everything goes according to plan, there will be another opportunity to play another tournament in January, and obviously the Commonwealth Games. And from there, I'm 100% sure that there is a plan. Obviously, I know I'm the president's 12-team coach, and I know that the Protea coach has a plan. Yes, everything doesn't always work out the way we plan, so that is a major concern. I mean, if you look at what happened this year is we actually removed the TNL players, the national players from the TNL, and then all of a sudden Jamaica kind of didn't happen, and then they had to put together, and they were forced in another direction, and that's actually game time that the Proteas lost. So yes, game time is so important, and we need to be creative in how we get to that game time, and even if it means we have to have, like I said, like what the New Zealanders did. I mean, they constantly, if they can't get out of the country, immediately they're playing against the males team. Immediately they're playing against their under 21 team, their President's 12 team, or their SIA team. So yes, if something like that happens again and we can't get there, we'll need to find creative way to make it work. But they do have a plan, and I think it's going to be tough. It's never going to be easy, but with a lot of hard work, we don't have to stand back for anybody. Norma taught us that,
And how much of that preparation for the Commonwealth Games will be important for the World Cup as well? And how much will the Commonwealth Games itself mean for the World Cup?
Extremely important. There's combinations that needs to settle. There's a specific starting line. I mean, if you look at how the top teams play their netball, with the exception of what the Aussies did a few years back, where they kind of they put a whole new team up halftime, because they felt that they needed all 12 in each match. I think obviously with the best teams, you have your strong team, and you might make one strategic change if it's needed. and you give them time to settle and time to really work it out. So you give the responsibility back to the team to deliver the goods, and it's so that as coach, you're not forced to have to make 200 changes just to keep your team in the game. Sometimes it's necessary. Well, maybe not 200 changes, 2 or 3 changes is necessary in order, because as coach, you know what you feel and you know what they can give you, and if you're not getting that, you need to make those changes. But it's always about, always go by, you first fix. So fix what's not happening, what's not working before you make the change. Don't just change, except if you feel that whatever you have to fix is not fixable within the match. It's something that you need to bring back to training, and it needs to form a new habit. But if you can fix it, then that's what you want to do at the end of the day. I can't even remember your question. That's where I led you now.
It's fine. It was about preparation, Commonwealth Games preparation for the Netball World Cup. So your players, how much talking around the Netball World Cup are they doing, or are they focusing on the Commonwealth Games first? What's the excitement rate like for the Netball World Cup?
They are actually just focusing, the players that's involved. The most important tournament in their lives at the moment is the African Cup, and a lot of them, even the girls that's not at the Africa Cup at the moment, they know they're part of the squad. And to them, the dream of playing in a World Cup is definitely not dead. They see how many changes has happened over the past few weeks within the squads. It's players that got injured, or maybe has a small niggle, or maybe needs a little bit of downtime, or maybe, a little bit overworked. So a few new players actually got an opportunity to take part, and so that they can be tested by the national coaches and be seen by the national coaches. But at the end of the day, they do talk about the World Cup, but not nearly as much as they spoke about the TNL. The TNL at that stage was the most important. The Africa Cup is the most important. And after this, yesterday I actually sat with 2 of my 2 favorite players. I told them when they were students that I'll buy
Jenny, who are your 2 favorite players?
2 of my favorite players, which is Chinam Dao and Lingi Mtembu. Remember? They actually took me out for a coffee because they went to a friend's birthday party, and they said, look, we just need to catch up a little bit. And back in the day, I used to buy the coffee, so I said to them, okay, now you 2 are working ladies and you work now you have to buy me the coffee. So they said, okay, no, it's fine. And we had a nice little chat. And, they just want to work as much as possible, and they just want to get on court. And yesterday we were talking about, what more do they need to do, and how to change the intensity that we train at. And I think that's one of the key things for all of us. The moment the skill level changes, the intensity drops. And we shouldn't always revert back to a more basic, safe type of netball. We should be able to be highly skilled and take high risks but with skill. So, and then it's not that high risk. It's on your skill level. That's the level you operate at. So it's not a high risk pass if that's the pass that you've trained 22,000 times. That to you is a normal pass. It's a high risk pass to anybody else, but that's right up your alley. And we need to create the skill level necessary so that we can play high risk netball, and it's part of what we do, and we do it well. And we take those calculated risks, but it's right on the mark every time.
Okay, cool. We have a question from Rachel. Remember, you can post your questions, your comments in the comments bar. And Rachel asked, she says, hi, ladies. Hello, Rachel. Jenny, how closely do you follow the leagues in New Zealand, Australia, and England?
I follow some of the leagues. The England and New Zealand leagues I follow when some of my players play in it, because I want to watch them play. They make me very proud. The Aussie League, the Suncorp, I don't miss a match. I can tell you that for the past 3 seasons, I have watched absolutely every match that they have played. And I watch it multiple times. And I also take a little bit of videos, and I formulate a lot of my ideas from that. I love the New Zealand style So I love netball, and I love the England leagues as well. But what I've learned over the years is I don't have enough time to follow all three leagues. I'm the type, if I focus on something, I completely focus on it. And I think that's one of the qualities that works well for us is I know if I'm going to focus on an approach, I only focus on one. So for this year, it was definitely the Suncorp, and I didn't miss a match. And I really enjoyed every moment of that.
And what lessons have you learned that you can bring back here? And how different are the leagues compared to what you see from your players?
Well, I learned quite a lot within every match. It's different type of things that I take out of it. First, the type of skills and how they execute certain skills. I sometimes just put up a match and we watch the match, and like the World Cup finals, I think the Jaguars have watched the World Cup finals too many times. And it's not always about watching what the strategy is, but a lot of the sessions we do strategy. Sometimes we do individual players, and other times we watch how you keep an eye on the demeanor of the players. You know, are they keeping a cool head? How do their bodies look? Body language. You know, how does it feel on court? And that's important, because if you're going to simulate and start preparing for a World Cup finals or a finals, you need to know how to carry yourself in that match. Your body language is just such an important component of everything that we do. So yes, a lot of different focuses, a lot of small videos, a lot of video sessions that comes out of those footage, and also, you know, just listening to what the captains have to say before they get back onto court, what the coaches have to say in that moment. And then also in my own mind, deciding what would my message be in that moment. What would be the changes I would make as coach in that moment? And then just comparing it with what that coach did. Did she make that change or not? What did she say if I can hear something there? And taking quite a lot of notes. But it's about, you really need to watch a lot of international matches to get especially for me as coach. I mean, I have not received a lot of international opportunities in my career. So for me to get to that level, I really need to watch quite a lot of matches to help the girls. Because I mean, I'm coaching national players, and they need my standard to be higher, to benefit them to keep on training with me. Yes,
And Jenny,
Percy,
would you? Okay. I want to follow up on that. Would you take the opportunity to coach internationally if they approached you to?
Yes, I would. I would probably not right at this moment, because anybody that knows me well knows that I've got a little 5-year-old at home, and he's going to school next year. So it might not be an immediate opportunity that I would take, but I would definitely jump at the opportunity to get any international exposure and to assist other teams.
Cool. We have a few questions.
South Africa, and I do love my girls here as well. So I will not just leave them here.
Okay, cool. We have a few questions from Percy, but before we get to them, I do want to ask, between COVID and WhatsApp groups that had to be formed during the worst of our lockdown and all the netball that you follow, what data package are you on, or how much data do you spend a month, roughly?
You know what? I just know we moved over to fiber. I spoke to my bosses, and first I said, okay, I'll need to get a new package. And then Rain was giving us quite a few good options here in the area that we were living in. And I took the first option, and it just didn't work. And I said to them, listen here, the amount of video work we do at the moment, and the amount of matches we need to watch, and the amount, I actually used one of my rooms here to set up a little studio to do netball classes and to do skill sessions and to teach the girls things. And so I had this all, I was the director, I was the actor, I was the producer, I was the script writer. I actually got quite a lot of extra skills during COVID. So then I had to actually move up to the top Rain package back then, and it really went well. And then I said, no. Telkom is the way to go. Telkom is our sponsor, and that was the one that we said. I said, never again. I need to go on to Telkom. And yes, I think we now on. I don't know on which package I am, but all I'm knowing is it's very fast, and you can watch any match you want, and there's never a problem. So choose Telkom, guys.
Nice. Nice. So let's go to the questions. Percy asked for Coach Jenny, what are your thoughts on our grassroots pathways? Do you think we are doing the young stars justice with the quality of coaching and structures that are there?
Yes, I think we think about that quite a lot. I mean, I know a lot of countries which give their best coaches to coach the grassroots levels in order to get the best skill and to teach them to play the game in the right way. I think there's a massive lack of great, good quality coaches in the country, in the sense that because with no netball action happening with a lot of schools during COVID, I mean, you don't get that payment. Eventually, you have to think of different areas that you need to go work in and at. So I always think there's a massive need for more coaches and a South African style. I mean, I used the opportunity at the World Cup to do all the clinics they had available, all the coaching courses. One that INF World Netball did back then, and then also the England netball clinics that they did. I was the only person from another country that sat in the England coaching courses as well. And I do love the style that they coach and that they promote in England as well. But, one of the sessions they did was the styles of netball. And they said, this is the Jamaican style, and this is the Aussie style, and this is the New Zealand style. And South Africa just didn't have a style. And
Sure.
We need to start thinking about what our true style of netball is. Yes, we like our tall shooters and our quick, fast goal attacks. And yes, we like our tall goalkeepers, but everybody's shooters are tall and everybody's goalkeepers are tall. So what's the true South African style of netball and the way we play netball? And yes, if you really look at it, and I've looked at the World Cup matches over and over and over again, at the end of the day, yes, the Aussies have a specific style, but the England players, they don't play that much different than the Aussie players. The angles pretty much stay the same. The basics are not that different. So there's small things that we need to decide on. This is the way we play netball and run with it so that we have our own style as well. If we're going to do a World Cup, we need our own style, We need to go in search of our true style.
Cool. Just to continue with the questions, well, we did speak about this. Percy's next question is, you've had a lot of success in South Africa. Do you have any interest in terms of coaching overseas? And I just want to add, so you've answered that, but if you had to choose a league to play in, a country to play in, where would you go?
Well, look, when we went to this Super Club competition for the Jaguars, we played that New Zealand hosted. I really enjoyed working and playing against the New Zealanders and the style of netball that they played. So my first choice would, I think, be probably New Zealand, even though I'm watching more Aussie netball. But it's because I know between those two countries, that's the one that will get in the finals one day. So you need to know them very well. And then, and obviously England. I really enjoyed the England coaching style during the World Cup when I did those clinics. They are much more flexible in the way they coach their players, and they put a lot of their responsibility back into the players' hands, and that's a style that I believe in and that I try to coach every day, not just to give them all the information, but to make them work for it a little bit. But any opportunity, I would even go and coach the Jamaicans if the opportunity arises one day. But I would definitely want to stay in South Africa. I think, even maybe a under 21 team, the baby Proteas would also be something that I would like to do. I love coaching the President's 12 team. It's a good challenge and it's in line with the Proteas. And I like the fact that we get to contribute and just help them to build the depth that they need for all their tournaments. But unfortunately, there's not that many countries that wants to play against the SA team because it's a non-ranking competition and game. So when they're busy with the competition, they don't necessarily want to make themselves extra tired. So we've spoken about it a little bit because we need a slightly different approach for that team as well, because it's such an honor to coach that team. But I love the South Africans and I love our style, even though we're still struggling to really find what it is. And I love our talent. And I think without forcing it too much, you can see a lot of players that has developed into great netball players in the past 4 seasons of TNL.
Okay. We're about 20 minutes left of our webinar. It is the South African Women in Sport Foundation monthly webinar, where today we are speaking everything netball and the 2023 Netball World Cup. And we've touched on a broad variety of topics to do with netball in South Africa, right? I just want to ask, before we continue, I think we should talk a little bit about school sport. Jenny, if you weren't in netball, if you weren't working in netball, what would you be doing? Did you have dreams of doing something else maybe when you were a little bit younger?
When I was younger, I thought I would be a good party planner. But I think it was because I love to party a lot. That's maybe the reason why I felt I would be a good party planner. I love nature. I love my garden. I would probably be working and designing gardens and doing landscaping and just helping people to get their gardens where it's supposed to be. That's what I'm thinking. That would be one of my passions because that's my hobby. That's where, if I'm in my garden after a tournament, I get rid of all the frustrations and irritations, and everything runs through my mind. And most of my game plans I formulate sometimes in my garden. So I really do like my garden, and I love nature. Yesterday I told my husband, I'm like, can you see how many different flowers there is, and how many different trees, and how many different plants? Isn't it amazing how fantastic God has created everything? And you see God in everything we do, even with the Jaguars. I mean, the common denominator within all our seasons, playing in those 8 finals in a row, is God has always been a part of our journey, and He has always been right beside us, and He'll never leave or forsake us, and He wants us to thrive in life. So, yes, I like to be close to Him, and I feel in the garden and in nature, I get to do that. But also, I think the other thing, you see, I got a few options, is obviously leadership development. I think I'm a strong leader. Yes. So I might give you an all-round package. We garden, and then we teach you how to lead, and then we party afterwards. It might be a full circle,
Fair enough. So school sport, obviously, school sport has been worse, I guess, affected by COVID, right? Compared to even you guys. What kind of impact does that have on the development of netball, that it's been so, because of COVID, it's been so on and off?
Well, number one, we couldn't get to see the talent, all the talent everywhere. And I actually went to the all ages, the Telkom school championships and the under-19 national championships. And luckily it was quite well represented. And there was quite a lot of good players with good talent. But you can see the level of skill. I mean, if you look at the first years of this year, that would be our under-19 our 20 under-19, Ekurhuleni under-19, or under-19 teams, they missed the entire first team season playing for their school's first team. And, playing for a first team, there's a lot more to it than just playing for a first team. It's spectators, it's pressure, it's expectation. It is... It's so many things that you get taught in a first team season that for the past 2 years the players actually missed out on. This year they played a few matches here and there, some of the schools. So yes, a lot of talent will get lost, and you'll see it. And I mean, it will be the passionate players that will continue, and not necessarily all the best players, because they were not spotted and and you know, you need to have quite an open mind. You know, there's so many players. For me, as in my capacity at the University of Pretoria, that actually applied for a bursary, and I think to myself, I haven't seen this player play in 2 years. It's so difficult to award a bursary to somebody that you don't even know if they've got the abilities. I mean, this is a bursary, a performance bursary, and the thing is, the expectation and keep on telling them, you know what, just because you don't get a bursary, don't stop playing. Just come show me. Come show me. If you're good enough, you will get your bursary and you'll get your opportunity. But you'll need to take a leap of faith. And it's so sad because we couldn't really identify all the players we wanted to. But I must say, I've seen enough that I'm quite excited about. So I won't be revealing any names. I want to keep them in Gauteng, you know.
Okay.
I think overall the quality of netball in Gauteng is quite good. We've got a bunch of schools here in the area. But yes, I will. The players have gotten used to not having to work hard anymore, because you don't have to go if you don't feel comfortable, or if you feel ill, or if you're not up to it. And that work rate from a young age is quite important. But nothing we can't fix. I hope that with a good awareness and if we can offer them a little bit more, like a professional league, that would be a good motivator for them to continue.
Okay. What advice do you have for coaches at that level?
I think, you know, you need to believe that a player can do it. And just because it goes two ways, you can see potential in somebody and really push that player just to find out later, oh, you know what, I've seen more in this player than what she's actually willing to give. But on the other side, we might not always see that much in a player, but the attitude of that player will elevate it into a better performance. And so what I've come to realize is never decide too quickly whether a player will make it on a higher level or not. I've got one or two of the Protea players, I'll never say the name, but when I saw them in the first year, I thought, oh my goodness, I'll need more than a few years. The body is there, everything is there, but I'm not sure that I'm going to pull this off. And those players just stepped out and they amazed me. And they were late bloomers. So at the end of the day, talent is important, but attitude is so much more important. Attitude works when talent doesn't always want to work. But if you get a talented athlete with a great attitude, then make sure to give that player what she needs, but also don't build a game plan around that player. Make sure that that player gets what she needs, but also make sure that when you lose that player and she gets injured, that you don't have nowhere to go to from there. And yes, and it's definitely in the basics of netball. You know, at the end of the day, a good foundation is what we need to be able to execute that same skill in a very difficult situation with precision. So if I need to play the ball in that space, there's so much room for error. How do we get them to really play it in that specific space every single time? And that's why where that basic skill comes in, but also to teach them to think for themselves. We have such short netball seasons. We start, I know when we do our clinics, the schools, the coaches will always tell me, we're already playing our first league match next week. And I'm thinking, oh my goodness, I had 4 months already and I feel I'm not prepared for my season. And we've worked for 4 months. They get 2 training sessions. They need to be ready to perform. So what happens? Because you have to perform so quickly, you end up giving the players all the answers instead of letting them give you the answers, letting them do the thinking. So at the end of the day, we tend to spoon feed them, and then later on our level, they sit and they expect answers because they never got taught to really think for themselves on court. And understandably so, because there's not a lot of time and there's that expectation that you have to perform. I mean, all schools really want to do well. So at the end of the day, yes, you need to make sure that you don't spoon feed, and that you keep them busy for I always say, you get your athletes, they do athletics, they do softball, they do football, they do netball, they play hockey. Those players are not the ones, usually we say we can't train because they are busy with other sports, but that's usually not the players that needs the extra attention. It's the ones that's not as sporty and not involved in all the other sports. That's not the weaker link, but the players that doesn't get that much time on court for different sports. So overall skill is not that high. Those are the players we need to work with a little bit more, because they carry and they help, and they're the backbone of the team at the end of the day. That would be a little bit of things I would say. There's a lot more that I can say.
I can tell you, Percy would love to hear a whole lot more from you. There's more comment from Percy who says, thanks, Coach Jen, for all that you do for netball. I'll definitely be coaching beside you soon. Nice. We have a wealth of talent in our country, and I don't doubt the fact that we'll get to the podium come 2023 World Cup. And earlier, Percy said, I think that I spoke about this with you, Coach Jenny, that we need to establish our own brand. Of course, we did have a conversation about that. What is the South African style of netball? We are wrapping up. There are about 10 minutes, 5 minutes, and then I'll hand over to Mam Dambi. Jenny, I do want to ask, you've just won the Telkom Netball League again. Are you planning for 2022 already? What are you thinking? Where are you at the moment?
I'm thinking while we are at it, we might as well push for another few wins. I know it's never easy. It's never been easy. And, it's not about being arrogant at all. It's about, you know how to do it, and you need to continue, and it's about more. It's about really lifting the standard. And we had a few conversations yesterday with a bunch of the players where we said, we really need to make some changes to our own program, and we need to step up in a big way. What we are doing now is great, and we are getting the results. But just because we are winning and just because we are doing well doesn't mean we are doing what's best for netball and we are playing on the level that we should be. We're constantly just pushing ourselves to get to a higher level, to play at a higher intensity, to really get the execution right on the mark. And that's something that we really be focusing on for the next few months of off season specifically. They'll get a little bit of a break first. We'll first need to go to national champs. But yes, definitely in my head, I'm starting to plan and getting ready, and starting to formulate what type of plays and tactics and strategies we need to work on, and the skill level, what level of skill we want to develop on what platform and on what level. We've got quite a lot of depth within our system, and we are at the Gauteng Champs just the other weekend, and yes, we need to have a good look at the young talent to see, you need that balance between the more experienced player and the young energetic bunch, because they lift the spirit, they giggle a lot. That can be quite irritating to the senior players, but you need them to just lift the spirit and to give the energy. So at the end of the day, yes, a lot of thinking, and I'll change my mind quite a few times in the next few months. But eventually, when we hit the floor, when we hit the ground, we'll probably hit it running, and we'll just start pushing ourselves again.
Sure, but you have an 85% winning percentage. How much further do you think you can go?
There's always room for improvement. I think the past 5 years we've done well, but to us, it's about being able to go unbeaten through a tournament. I know Coach Wooden. I don't know if you know Coach Wooden, but he was the best basketball coach in America, university basketball coach. And he won 10 years in a row. I think he won 12 years, he won the championship 10 times. And he's one of my idols in life. And I just feel, again, if he can do it, why not us? We need to start really trusting ourselves with more on every level, specifically, and pushing ourselves. And you know what? If we fail, we try again, we push harder, we do more. But while we're succeeding, let's really push ourselves to succeed even more. And it becomes such a habit that you expect more of yourself and you rise to the occasion because you know you can. So yes, no, a lot of room for improvement. 85 is not 100, so we'll have to get to 100. If you really focus on being excellent, you get on being perfect, you get excellence. So perfection creates excellence. It's difficult to do everything perfect, but reaching for that will give you excellence, and that's what we aspire to become, excellent.
Sure. Okay. And yeah, we are almost done. You talk about that 85 is not yet 100, obviously. And I know earlier, right at the beginning of our conversation, I did ask you just about how you keep your players in check, given the success that you've had. Just a bit more on that, just to round it off. You obviously, I imagine players want to come to play for the Jaguars, and you've got this group of players, and as you say, you've got young players as well. How do you balance that all out, given the success, given the players that are there, and given what your plans are? What makes you tick, and what makes you the coach that you are, and as successful as you are?
I think you need to trust the ability of people. I take quite a lot of time. I don't just trust without knowing what to trust. I trust, but I also back it with enough training sessions, with enough time spent and enough focus on the players, so that I know what their abilities are. I know what, and it's such a good combination that you need to set out. You don't want two wing defenses that can do exactly the same thing. You need wing defenses that can play a total different type of play for you when you need it. And that's the thing, you need to keep that balance between what you need and what's available. And you need to look for the talent you need, and you need to put in the hard work. It's always about the hard work at the end of the day. So yes, and I think the players, they want to. They are hungry. They love what Netball South Africa is doing for them. They want even more, and they just want to play. And that's the one thing that I know about everybody in this country at the moment, is there's been not enough opportunities to play because of COVID. Although they don't want clinics, they don't want courses, they just want to get onto court and play. So the more we play, the better we will get at the end of the day. And we need to find new creative ways to get that done. We've been playing without any supporters for the past 2 seasons. It's been tough. Your biggest support is your first years on the bench here. And I told some of them, can you please just move a little bit further because my eardrums. And we miss the people in the stadiums. We miss our supporters, but also getting them ready to play in front of supporters again, and to be able to really do well in those moments and own the pressure moments is also something that you need to work on. I used to study, I studied sports psychology, and I always felt that was such a good combination with coaching. So we also use quite a lot of tactics to just get them to settle down and to manage their own expectation, but not just this, their nerves and their overexcitement, to activate them just enough to perform when it really matters. So yes, it's a bunch of 1%ers that makes up a good recipe at the end of the day.
Cool, lovely. Well, on that note, we will close off this month's edition of the South African Women in Sport Foundation monthly webinar. We were speaking with Telkom Netball League champions, Gauteng Jaguars coach Jenny van Dijk. We were meant to have Samisha Isa from the Eastern Cape Allows on, as well as Netball SA President Cecilia Molokwane, but we had technical challenges getting them on. So unfortunately, they couldn't join us. But we had a very, I think, enriching, informative, enlightening, insightful, all the adjectives you can think of conversation with Jenny van Dijk, who gave us her time, and we are very grateful for that. So, and to everyone who did join in, I see there's a comment that's come in. We are going to read it and see. Oh, right. Percy says, thank you, ladies. Thank you for being with us. Percy, it was really great to have you and to have people tuned in as well. So, of course, there will be another series as the months go on. Do stay tuned to the So WASP. South African Women in Sport Foundation pages on Facebook as well as on Twitter for all the information and updates on the next webinar. So from me, Cloning Team Kulu, and everyone here, thank you. It's been amazing. Cheers.
Bye.
I told you if we dance